President Obama's plan to overhaul government surveillance is getting some criticism from Congress. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Rogers says the president's speech on Friday produced, in his words, lots of uncertainty. Former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell was part of a panel that recommended changes at the National Security Agency. He is now a CBS News contributor. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So before we talk about Mike Rogers, what did you think of the president's speech and the balance he took? Because it did not include all the recommendations the panel recommended.
So I thought he said two very important things. One was the importance of intelligence to protecting the nation, the fact that what the NSA was doing was legal and appropriate, and they were doing exactly what their government asked them to do, that they are patriots. I thought it was very important for the country to hear that, and I thought it was very important for the NSA officers to hear that from their commander-in-chief. At the same time, Charlie, he said that the government holding this data creates a potential risk to privacy and civil liberties, which is what our panel found as well. And he said, importantly, that the government shouldn't hold that data anymore. And he said that the government should have a warrant when it goes and looks at that data. It's going to take some time to work all that out, but some of that is in place this morning. Getting a court order, for example, is required as of this morning. So I thought the president, what the president said was pretty important.
Is it going to be difficult to find a place to put that data? Because people who might accept it have already said they don't want it.
Right. Turns out right now nobody wants to hold this data, which is not surprising. What I think is important is that as we move this data away from the government, which the president said he will do, that we find a place to keep it where it is easy to access it, so that it's not time-consuming. I would also point out that both the review group and the president said that there should be an emergency provision, so that if you have to get to it very, very quickly, you can skip that court process and go back to the court later.
So he accepted 35 of the 46 recommendations. Is that enough to keep us safe, do you think? And what is one recommendation that you wish he would have accepted that he did not?
So he accepted 70% of the recommendations, and he said he would study another 15. The recommendations are not all equal in everybody's mind. You know, to me, the two most important recommendations were the recommendations about the 215 telephone metadata program, which he accepted, and the recommendation about foreign intelligence collection, that if we're going to collect sensitive intelligence on our friends and allies, it should be a senior policy decision and not a decision that gets made deep down in the intelligence community. He accepted both of those. Those are the two most important.
Can you take us behind the scenes, since you're the only one at the table who was there at the panel, and give us some insight as to what went into your decision-making process, what you all were trying to do?
So we each brought very different perspectives. This was a group of folks who came with a very open mind, but very different perspectives. And it was interesting. It was like two graduate seminars going on. There was a graduate seminar for me and Dick Clark, who was also an expert on national security, a graduate seminar on privacy and civil liberties, taught by our 3 law professors. There was also a graduate seminar for them, taught by Dick and me on national security issues. So the first month was both of us learning about the perspectives of the other.
Everybody's struggling with a balance.
Yes.
One thing you have said that has just really, really struck me is this idea that if the government had the capabilities it had now, 9/11 could possibly have been prevented. What did you mean by that exactly?
So when I said that, and I've actually been criticized for saying this, I said the program as practiced today. And by that, I meant two things. The ability to query this database, and had NSA had that ability back in 2001, they would have identified an al-Qaeda hijacker in California. But the other piece of the program as practiced today was NSA's ability to share that information with the FBI. And a lot of people said, well, that wasn't in place then. When I said this would have prevented 9/11, I meant both pieces.
Let me go to something on Face the Nation. You want to clarify a point that you made on Face the Nation.
Right. So Bob asked me about abuses.
Right.
And I was thinking broadly. And I mentioned a handful of abuses, 12 over the last 10 years, of NSA employees and some employees from other agencies on detail the NSA looking into systems about boyfriends and girlfriends, things like that. all of those were dealt with appropriately. Bob's question was really about the 215 program, the telephone metadata program. There have been no abuses in that program. The abuses that I was referring to were about other NSA programs, not 215. That's what I wanted to clarify.
All right. And now you have done that, Mike Morell.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the team. Very nice.
Thank you
to have
very
on
much.
the
Good to
team.
be here.